Hello, whisperers. Welcome to the channel. If you enjoy tonight's tale, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. It helps more than you know. Now, dim the lights, and let's begin tonight's story. The chopper dropped me off just after dawn. They circled once, waved, and vanished into cloud. After that, it was only trees. Thousands of them, tall, thin, all pointing toward the same gray sky like they were waiting for something. The cabin's older than I expected, half-rotten boards patched with newer ones. There's a thin layer of dust on everything, and the generator coughs every few minutes like it's trying to clear its throat. But it'll do. I've worked worse posts. My assignment's straightforward. Monitor black bear migration for 3 weeks, gather data from a dozen cameras scattered across the lower ridge, and log any anomalies. The department likes that word, anomalies. It makes chaos sound like paperwork. By evening, I had half the cameras running. Static shots of empty woods, maybe a deer or two. Nothing worth a note. The forest here is so still it almost feels staged. No wind, no bugs. Even the birds keep their distance. When you stand still long enough, the quiet starts to hum in your ears. I didn't notice the first sound until after midnight. I was inside, typing up baseline data, when something cut through the hum. A sharp, rising whistle, 2 short notes, then one long. It echoed once and faded. At first I thought it was the generator whining through the metal frame. But when I stepped outside, the air was still, cold, no wind, no movement, just that faint, ringing silence forests get when everything's listening. The sound came again from somewhere deeper in the valley. Same pattern, 2 quick, 1 drawn out. It was distant, probably a half-mile out. Could have been air slipping through a ravine, maybe a bird call distorted by echo, though I didn't recognize the pitch. It felt too clean. I wrote it down, like everything else. No point speculating. The next morning, while checking camera 5, I found something sitting at the base of the tripod, a small bundle of sticks, tied together with what looked like dried grass. Not random, woven, deliberate. It reminded me of a crude triangle or arrowhead. I assumed kids, except there are no kids this far out. The whistling started again that night, just before midnight. Same pattern, same distance. It stopped the moment I turned on my floodlight. The forest went silent again after that. Not natural silence, not the kind that comes when night creatures rest. This was different, the kind that feels like something's holding its breath. I tried the radio before bed. It crackled once, then filled with static that almost sounded like whispering, faint, broken syllables I couldn't make out. Could have been bleed over from another frequency. Happens sometimes this far out. Still, I didn't sleep much. Every time I closed my eyes, I kept hearing that whistle repeat in the dark. 2 short, 1 long. I woke up to silence so complete it made my head ring. The kind of silence that presses on your ears until you start hearing your own pulse. Usually, mornings up here start with sound, the crows or squirrels moving through brush, but not today. Not a single call. Even the trees looked still, like they were listening for something that wasn't me. I checked the cameras first thing. 3 had stopped transmitting overnight. Cameras 3, 4, and 7. The log showed motion around 120, then total black. No sign of interference, no animals in the last few frames, just a smear of gray blur moving between trunks, too close to the lens to focus. When I went out to check them, I noticed how strange the air felt. Thick, heavy. The smell of pine was gone, replaced by something faintly sour, like wet fur or old iron. The first damaged camera was ripped clean off the mount. The metal bracket was twisted backward, as if something had wrenched it apart with both hands. Around the base, I found another bundle of sticks, this one larger than before, woven into a loose circle and pinned with a single black feather. I didn't touch it, didn't even want to get close. The second camera was worse. Its housing was split down the middle, and the memory card was missing. The only thing left was a small piece of birch bark wedged inside the slot, carved with 3 shapes, long vertical lines, each with a notch across the top. They almost looked like tally marks. I started hearing the whistling again while I was still out there, faint but close. 2 short, 1 long, then silence. Then again from somewhere else. I turned in a full circle trying to locate it, but it kept shifting. Always distant, always just out of sight. The noise followed me all the way back to the cabin, fading whenever I stopped moving. By nightfall, the generator began cutting in and out. The lights dimmed every few minutes, the bulb over my desk flickering like it was breathing. I tried to distract myself by reviewing data, but half the files were corrupted, filled with distorted audio that almost sounded like whispering beneath the static. The whistling started again around midnight, same rhythm, but this time there were 3 sources. 1 ahead of the cabin, 1 behind, 1 somewhere down the slope. I shut off the light and listened. They weren't random. They were answering each other. Every time the one in front stopped, the one behind picked up. Then the third, over and over. It went on for nearly half an hour. At some point, I realized I was gripping my rifle, even though I don't remember picking it up. When the generator finally died, I decided to go outside and start it manually. The second I opened the door, the whistling stopped. Not faded, stopped. The forest was still, moonlight turning the frost silver. I stepped off the porch and scanned the tree line. Nothing moved, not even the air. Then, just as I turned to head back, a low clicking sound started behind me. Not mechanical, not insect. It was rhythmic. 2 clicks, a pause. 1 click, coming from the trees where I'd parked the ATV. I swept the flashlight over the area. The beam caught a dozen trunks, stripped bark, frozen brush, and for a second, I saw a shape slip between two trees. It was tall and lean, skin the color of ash, arms longer than they should have been. It didn't run. It folded behind the tree like it was melting into it. I dropped the light. When I brought it back up, there was nothing there. I stayed by the window for the rest of the night. The whistling didn't start again. The forest just watched me breathe. I didn't mean to fall asleep. The last thing I remember was staring at the window, trying to count the seconds between each gust of wind, except there wasn't any wind, just the low groan of the trees shifting against each other. When I woke up, it was still dark. The generator had gone completely. The only light came from the glow of my laptop battery, flickering every few seconds like a pulse. Outside, something was moving through the snow. Slow, heavy footsteps, soft, deliberate, circling the cabin. It didn't sound like a bear. There was weight to it, but the rhythm was wrong. Bears crash, whatever this was. It was careful. The radio started hissing again, faint static crawling through the speaker. I turned the dial and froze. Between the bursts of noise, I could hear the same whistle, not from outside, but through the receiver. Two short, one long, then a pause, and another whistle, farther away, answering back. I shut it off, couldn't stand to hear it anymore. I don't know what time it was when I decided to pack, probably near dawn. The air inside the cabin felt stale, heavy with that metallic smell that never seems to fade out here. When I opened the door, I nearly stepped on it. A new bundle of sticks, this one larger than the others, tied with what looked like hair, human, brown, short. There was blood on the wood, fresh. The whistling started again before I could move, not distant anymore. This time it came from both sides of the clearing, left and right, and then from somewhere behind the cabin. 3 directions. They were communicating. I ran back inside and locked the door. The sound built until it felt like it was inside my skull, each note trembling through the glass. Then came the clicking, louder now, sharp and quick, like teeth snapping together. The first impact hit the wall near the stove. A second followed on the far side. Then a long scrape, nails or something harder dragging across the boards. I fired through the window. The recoil knocked me flat, and when I looked up, I caught movement under the trees. 3 shapes, low and thin, darting between trunks. They didn't run like people. They crawled, limbs bent the wrong way, heads jerking with every step. The moment my light hit them, they froze. And then they started to stand, one by one, shoulders narrow, skin stretched gray and tight, faces smeared with mud or bark. I couldn't tell which. The eyes were just pits reflecting the light, glassy and black. They began to spread out, slow, fanning around the cabin. I backed away until I hit the far wall. My rifle jammed halfway through the next round. The window glass behind me popped with a sharp crack. There's blood on my hands. I don't know whose. If anyone finds this, don't follow the whistles. Don't answer them. Don't even listen.
Recovery Report Excerpt. Filed by Ranger Department May 18, 2023. Field Station 07A located. Structure partially collapsed. Large volume of blood found inside. Spatter pattern consistent with violent attack. No remains recovered aside from tissue samples and partial jaw fragment. Human. Snowpack near site contained 3 shallow depressions arranged in a triangle, approximately 6 feet apart. Each depression lined with sticks, tied bundles placed at center. Audio recorder recovered under debris. Final 27 seconds capture wind noise, faint whistling, and 3 sharp clicks before static. Status, case closed. Classification, animal predation. Personnel advised. Avoid unnecessary field operations in the lower valley during winter months. End of recovered material.